Breaking news, the U.S. Supreme Court rules in favor of the new Texas redistricting maps. You might ask, what does that mean? Well, that means we might soon be rid of that very evil, nasty, but kind of cute little racist chick by the name of Jasmine Crockett. She might be a thing of the past. Initially, they wanted to pretend that it was in the nation's best interest for the lines in the state of Texas to be drawn up based on race. So what they would do is they would create districts and it would just run along the lines of where black and brown people lived. And that's where she had her stronghold. However, now the maps have been redistricted based on partisanship and not on race. The Democrats are very upset because the only people that were voting for her were disgruntled, pretty racist, black constituents in these areas. Now you got to think about it. Someone like Jasmine Crockett losing her seat is a good thing if it happens. Right now, the people that in her district, since it's been redrawn, are going to be the people that she hates, which are white people. And you got to think about it. Let's just be candid and be honest. What makes someone a black leader? They would call Jasmine Crockett a black leader. They would call Dr. Umar a black leader. But what do they do? Do you think black people care that Dr. Umar never built his school and stole all that money from those donations? They don't care. But why? What has Jasmine Crockett accomplished for her constituents, for her district? What has she done for her people? The answer is nothing. The only thing that makes these people considered black leaders is they have an ability to freely insult white Americans on behalf of their constituents. And like little sea lions, their constituents clap. They don't care about results. They don't care about, or is there a net positive if there's a benefit from these people being in their position. They just want to hear you say mean, nasty things about white people. If you do that, they'll love you. Jasmine Crockett has been great at that, just like Umar. However, now that her district has been the lines have been changed, the very people that she insults for a living pretty much are going to be the ones who are going to decide if she's going to keep her congressional seat or she's going to have to find a primarily black area to run in for another seat somewhere else. And hopefully her insults to white people will win their favor. But as of now, it's not looking good. It's not looking stable. And that's the beauty. And now I'm a Texas resident. I live in Houston. I fled California because of failed Democrat policies. So anytime I can see Democrats losing and conservatives winning and getting rid of all that race, it's 2025. How much longer are you guys going to have that race crutch that you bring up and blame all the problems on and everything's race, race, race? And you're calling these people white supremacists, but for you to call someone supreme, it requires an inferiority complex. And you want to blame that on politics, on Trump. It's not going to happen. And people are tired of it. And, you know, I'm proud that the SCOTUS saw through this and said, look, you guys are countering saying that this is not fair to minority voters, but you can't prove it. Everything, just like everything else when it comes to racism, it's all, for the most part, based in emotions. They can never show you any factual evidence or show you any policy where it says you can't do this because of your race. It doesn't exist. It's only in their minds. It's a really good excuse to excuse shortcomings, but it's not based in reality. And people hate to hear me say that because then they're required to counter me. Trying to counter me is where they fail. And people read the comments in my controversial videos, and people will come in there and they'll say something, but they can never explain. And that's the difference between me and them. I can actually, if I have a stance, I can actually explain to you the genesis of where it comes from, why I think that way, and, you know, how it all pieces together. They never can because it's all based off of emotion. It's based off their imagination. It's not connected to reality. Being a pragmatic man, I don't have the luxury to live in the clouds with you guys. So I'm here on earth. So today was a huge W for the Texas GOP. Congratulations to us. And let's see what this report has to say.
The Supreme Court has released a ruling that now allows the new Texas redistricting maps to be used for next year's election, a big decision that Eye on Politics reporter Jack Fink has been looking for. Jack's joining us on the phone right now to talk a little bit more about this. Jack, this ruling has a lot of implications for a lot of would-be candidates that were waiting to see how this would play out, to see if they would run, if they wouldn't run, and for what districts. How is all of this sort of going to play out now, you think?
Well, look, this is a very big victory for Texas Republicans. They redrew this map. They did the redistricting mid-decade. These will give likely Republicans up to 5 new congressional seats in next year's midterm elections. And this all started when
obviously lost his phone collection. But again, this is a major development now in what has sort of been a very contentious debate, not just here in Texas, but really throughout the country, because this set off efforts in other states, namely California, to redistrict their maps as well, to sort of offset what would be additional Republican seats coming out of Texas. We know that California's governor, Gavin Newsom, had also proposed his own version of what the redistricting maps would look like in California. That was something that was expected to, or is still expected to, rather, to go to the voters before they can make any decision on that. But again, here locally and throughout the state, this is something that a lot of candidates were waiting on to see if, in fact, they would continue. Jack Fink is joining us on the line once again. Jack, I was just mentioning how, this sort of ruling had offset, or set off, rather, other efforts in other states, namely California, to try and offset the seats here. But you were talking about how this is a major win for Texas Republicans.
Yes, that's right. And so the 2025 congressional maps are definitely now in place. This is basically the Supreme Court saying that Texas is correct. The state had obviously appealed the lower court ruling from the judges in El Paso, who found that
looks like we just lost Jack for a second time here. So we can tell you that this is a story that we're going to continue to follow throughout the evening. Jack will have a whole lot more throughout the evening as well. We'll have much more information both on CBS News.
Breaking news in our Law and Justice lead, and a major update from the U.S. Supreme Court.
I'll be honest, I don't watch CNN, but you have to know what the other side is saying, and then you can see how they lie and they slant everything. The reason that they lead with the race stuff is because they know that in federal court, that's the only angle that'll win. Because if you say, oh, this is happening based on race, or it's because it's racist, or trying to dilute black voters and blah, 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 then you have a stance. But you can't complain about the, redistricting areas based on partisanship. You only have a complaint if it's based on race. But now that we're living in the future, and all the shaming is going away, and all the forced DEI, and we're now starting to see through the manipulation, it's just not going to work. And the Supreme Court's not buying it. So let's see what these clowns on CNN have to say.
Court on that Texas redistricting case. You'll remember Republicans in the state, in an unusual mid-decade review, redrew the maps, the congressional maps, earlier this year. Let's get right to CNN Chief Supreme Court Analyst Joan Biskupic. Joan, what is the latest news from the U.S. Supreme Court?
Very big news, Jake, both politically and legally. The Supreme Court, the conservative majority over the dissent of the 3 liberals, has said that Texas can use the map that it drew last summer to provide potentially 5 new districts that could flip Republican and enhance the Republican majority in the U.S. House. And what they said is that a special U.S. District Court panel that had invalidated this map, saying it was drawn on unconstitutional racial lines, that Texas had actually divided people up by race. This district court had said that, and Texas had come up here and appealed it, backed by the Trump administration. Today, the Supreme Court majority said no, that this map deserved more deference from the district court. The district court should have taken into account a presumption of legislative good faith. That's been a standard that Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Samuel Alito have been really pushing over the years to sort of let states do what they want to do, even if there could be a cloud of racial division there. So you have.
Look at the map they're showing. The entire state of Texas is red, and there are 4 tiny blips that are blue. And let's see here. That's the Dallas-Fort Worth Metro. That's Houston, I believe, North Houston, Austin, and I don't know what county that other one is, but I believe that's Austin, and there's an adjacent county. I think it could be San Antonio. I'm not sure. Probably San Antonio. They lost 3 of their congressional seats, so now they're at 5. And we already had 30 in Texas. Now it's up to 35. This is wonderful. The fact that hopefully I can look forward to turning on the news and there's not going to be some radical, extreme left-wing, lesbian, black politician screaming about race and insulting white people, and then the gay white people and blacks clap for her. I'm tired of that. If we're going to talk politics, I want to talk policy. I don't want to talk race. You don't control your race. You're born that way. You can control your character. You can control your behavior, but who cares what color you are? Nobody cares anymore. But you know who does care? The Democrats, because they use that to say, well, because you look this way, you should vote this way. Because you look this way, you should think this way. As a matter of fact, because you're black, you should be gay. Because you know what they say, to be black is to be gay, to be black is to be trans. Man, look, take all that weird, nonsensical BS and go to hell with it. Go back to California with it. Don't California my Texas. Now these lines are not being based off of race. What they would do is they would turn those blue areas into districts because that's where the highest concentration of blacks and Hispanic people live. And that's where they would get their congressional seats and they're the people they would vote for. But if you district it based on partisanship, well, then those people would lose those seats. They're only put in those places because the maps were drawn based on race, which is unconstitutional. So their argument was the map was originally unconstitutional, even though that was in their favor initially. That's why they wanted to keep it that way. Everything's been redistricted based on partisanship with the removal of race. And now it's fair. And now it makes sense. All this whole putting the country in a chokehold and using race to shame everybody and to make that white guilt thing is real. It's serious. You know, there's probably white people out here looking to commit suicide just to show their allegiance to blacks and to Democrats. And it's like, you really got to get over yourself. You're not privileged. You're not better than anyone. And don't let these people convince you that you are. You know what the real difference between you and them is? Work ethic. They feel entitled because they don't think they should have to work because Martin Luther King told them that because of slavery, the government and the state owes them reparations. For generations, that mentality has destroyed the black community. There's people right now who will refuse to work because they're still waiting on that reparations. No one ever offered it to you. So you know what you did? You got it out the mud. You even married a woman that works. So now you have 2 incomes. You can afford anything you want in this country when you got 2 people working in one household. So let's not lie to ourselves. It's not because you're privileged. It's because of work ethic. That's just the bottom line. And that's why when you see successful black households with 2 parents in the household that are working, black people don't claim them no more because now you're acting white because you guys both work, you pay bills, you take care of your family. That's white supremacy. So I guess everything that's white is good. And according to them, everything that's black is bad. To be black is anti-family, anti-work, anti-American, anti-children. So you got to make a choice. Which one would you rather be? Sometimes the way they insult you, they're really complimenting you. You know, calling somebody racist in 2025 means that you don't have any cognitive dissonance. That means that your brain sees pattern recognition. That's a compliment nowadays. You know, I guess before people used to be like, oh, don't call me that, man. You got to get over it. These people will say anything to get you to let your guard down and hurt you. Don't fall for it. But this is beautiful. Jasmine Crockett, we won't have to see her little, don't get me wrong, she's cute. She's hella cute. And when she first came out, she talked like a normal person. This whole ghetto-fied, super black, bro, it's horrible how they destroyed her. She could have even made a good wife maybe one day, but now she's cooked. So, I mean, but yeah, she'll lose that seat soon because, again, the people who she's historically insulted for a living and degraded and called names are going to be the people that she's going to have to beg for their votes now, and they're not going to give it to her. You know, one day I'm going to run for something. I love the state of Texas. Maybe I'll run for something in Texas in the future. But for now, it's just going to be I wouldn't say job, but it's kind of my responsibility just to talk to the public daily about all these different topics. This was something that I've been waiting to hear. It's been on the radar. They've been talking about it. But and I knew redistricting would hurt her chances of being reelected. People like her, we have to get out of politics. It would be great if we can get money out of politics. But if we can't do that, at least get race out of politics. Then we can have really American-focused, American-first conversations. Right now, we're having conversations where it's race first, America third or fourth. It's race, sex, sexuality, sexual confusion, then America. No. I just want to talk about American stuff. I don't want to hear about all that other personal stuff. What you do at night in your bedroom is your business. It doesn't belong in politics. Please do not California my Texas.
The conservative majority essentially now locking in this new Texas map that you remember has triggered all this off-year redistricting throughout the country and at the goading of President Trump to shore up his majority. Let me tell you a little bit about what the liberal dissenters said had happened here. Justice Kagan, writing on behalf of herself and Sonia Sotomayor and Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, pointed to the fact that a district court had held 9 days of hearing, combed through thousands of pages of testimony about what had gone on in Texas. And this district court had also put a lot of attention on a letter from the Office of Civil Rights in the Trump administration that had pushed the Texas legislature to draw along racial lines.
See, even on CNN, they admit it. They were drawn under racial lines, and the Texas GOP got rid of it and redrew them under partisan lines. It's funny that she mentioned Ketanji Autopen Jackson because she was certified under the Autopen. And if everything that was done under Biden's Autopen is being rescinded, I'm looking forward to the day that I wake up and she's removed from the Supreme Court because she was only put there by Autopen. Biden wasn't even aware that she existed or what was going on, has no idea. So she shouldn't be there. So I'm looking forward to that too. So it's not just Crockett. All this stuff is being worked out. Trump is doing, don't get me wrong. There's some things about him I'm not fully on board with, like when he said America didn't have the talents, but there's so much other stuff I agree with. And I'm loving that this progress is being made and people aren't being shamed into submission. They're not being shamed into it. For one thing, we got the black people in this country begged for the illegals. Now the illegals have literally came and diluted them. So you can just ignore the black population going forward. You don't really have to pander to them anymore because the illegals outweigh them. If black people want to be taken seriously again, then they're going to have to get behind ICE and remove the illegals that dilute their vote, and then people have pandered to them. But in the meantime, you're going to have to pander to Hispanics. I remember when Biden was like, and you black people are going to have to learn how to get along with the Hispanic people because they're more diverse when it comes to voting than something like that. But he checked the hell out of them black people, and he was being honest. It's true. So you really don't have to. So the complaints of black people, which they're always going to complain about everything. I mean, it's not just the Somalians. It's kind of just a black thing. They're never happy. That's why I'm saying, like, if you're not happy with Texas, move to California. It's a fully Democrat state. Move to New York. If you don't like how red Texas is, you don't like the American flag, you're not a patriot, you don't love the country, move to another state because you have that option as an American. You're still an American. Or do even better, rescind your citizenship, move to a new country. Ghana is giving away citizenship to Black Americans who are looking to escape Trump, escape ICE, escape white supremacy. If your mental illness tells you that all those things are real and you're a victim and there's like some imaginary white man that's just following you around day and night, tormenting you, then escape. Get on a plane and fly to another country. You don't have to stay here. Why torture yourself? I believe in you. I think you can do better. If you don't like these congressional seats, you don't like how our form of governance, you got years more of Trump, and depending on the results we get and how much money these tariffs bring in, it wouldn't make sense to go back to Democrats that literally just gave all our money away. It's going to be a conservative majority regardless. Besides, you guys abort your kids. You guys all are fully vaxxed. Your numbers are depleting anyway. It's going to be a Christian majority country regardless. So you're kind of just delaying the inevitable. Either get down or lay down. If you're going to lay down, stay down.
And the district court had found that indeed that this had been an unconstitutional racial gerrymander, that it wasn't drawn just on political lines, which, Jake, is allowed under the Constitution. You can divide people up based on their politics, but you cannot divide people up based on their race. And that's what the district court said had done there. And let me just tell you what Justice Elena Kagan said in dissent about that. What basis does...
And what they're leaning on right now is this. If you're Black, you're expected to vote Democrat. If you're Hispanic, you're expected to vote Democrat. What they don't like is that there are so many Black people that are not for the gay agenda, which is pretty much the only thing the Democrats are offering. Gay stuff for kids and abortion. They're nothing for anybody else. Latinos, even if you come here, yeah, they're buttering your bread at first, giving you free this, free that. But most of us, like the Hispanics, are conservative. We'd rather take care of our families ourselves. We don't really want to live off the government. So we're not going to vote Democrat for too long. Maybe the first generation, but definitely not our kids. It's because you would have to shame them into feeling sorry for these other groups. And then you get our votes that way. But that mass manipulation, it's not as easy to do anymore. You used to be able to shame people and make them feel sympathy because you would play stuff on the news. But the news isn't the only source of information. You can literally get on YouTube and talk to me. You can talk to me on Twitch. You can talk to me on Rumble. People like me can explain to you other ways of looking at the same topics, and you might not feel that guilt anymore. You should never vote out of guilt. You should vote out of processing the data and whatever works in your best interest. Voting in America is not a popularity contest. Oh, I like this guy because of what? What did he offer you? Oh, nothing. I just like him. That's not how it works. You're only supposed to vote for somebody who's offering you something and it's a net positive for you. It's not about who you like. It's about what they are willing to offer you. And if you don't realize it's a negotiation, maybe you shouldn't be voting. And if you can't explain, like, think about it. You know how many people I asked about Kamala last year? And when I ask them, like, hey, so, they're like, yeah, I'm voting for Kamala. I'm like, for real, bro, that's cool. So, like, what do you like about her? And when they get to, and they don't want to talk anymore and they walk, I'm like, then what are we doing here? You can't even explain to me any of her policies. You want to vote for her the same way men decide which stripper to tip in a club, solely based on looks. So let me get this straight. The country you live in and the policies you have to live under, you're delegating them the same way somebody chooses a stripper, solely based on her looks. Oh, she looks Black, I like her. That's the most idiotic, nonsensical. Voting for someone based on their race is just as idiotic as voting against them based on their race. You have to understand that.
does the majority have to thus substitute its understanding of the direct evidence for the district courts? The short answer is it has none. So this is the end of the line for this Texas map. It can be used going forward now for the midterm elections, Jake.
All right, John Biskupik, thanks so much.
Well, there you have it, folks. Jasmine Crockett is probably up Schitt's Creek without a river. She's going to have to find some black enclave to go move to and try to run again. But I mean, the days of, if you're an older black person hearing somebody that just talks nasty about white people, and that's the only thing they offer you, and that's enough, those people are aging out. They're fully vaxxed. They're passing away. It's less and less of them. So that's going to be less and less appealing and less relevant going forward. So just, being able to insult white people for votes, it's not going to work forever anymore. And I'm glad that this is one step closer to that BS being removed from politics. It's just it's like hearing somebody scratch a chalkboard when she's talking, and that's all she has to talk about. She's not once saying, look, this is a new policy I wrote up. I do need to get along with Trump to get it pushed through. I got to get along with these people. Let me be a politician. Let me, figure out how to get along and get stuff. They don't want to get nothing done. They just want to sit there and basically, well, because we're black, we can't be racist. So let me say a bunch of racist shit. That's not enough anymore. But she is cute. So if she joins OF or something, she will have my $15 a month subscription. I'm not going to even lie to you. I'm not going to, you think I'm a lie? I'm not going to lie to you. She'll definitely, I'll support that. But, and she can say all kind of racist stuff. I can just mute her and just look at her. But other than that, I don't have to deal with that shit. So, but do me a favor, like and subscribe, share the video. Let me know your thoughts. And remember, America first, America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.